والله عزيز ذو انتقام إن الله لا يخفى عليه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء هو الذي يصوركم في الأرحام كيف يشاء لا إله إلا هو العزيز الحكيم هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن
الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن سلك طريقه إلى أن تقوم الساعة. All praises are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who out of his infinite mercy we are still alive to this very day. Today another lovely Jumu'ah, the 19th day of April in the year 2013, which corresponds to the 8th day of the 6th month of 1434 Hijrah calendar. We ask Almighty Allah to spare our lives to witness many more Juma, inshallah. My esteemed listeners out there, you are welcome to today's episode of Al-Islam, the Religion of Peace, on your radio station, FUTA Radio 93.1 FM. With you today, I'm Sadiq Allah. I'll be taking you through today's episode of the program. Last week on this program, we started a discuss on institutions for character formation, the family. Institutions for character formation, the family. Last week, we established that generally, man has not been able to relate with one another in harmony and in unity. Like the guest lecturer, the Imam, put it, he said, the man has generally learned how to swim better than the fishes, fly better than birds, but man does not know how to relate with one another. There's always chaos, there's tumult, there's fights here and there. Man generally lacks in that particular aspect. More than ever also, the level of moral decadence is on the rise, and people are defaulting in character. In the real sense of the word, people are really defaulting in character. You move along the streets today, there are cases of rape, cases of theft, people dressing in immoral manners, provocatively, etc. The list goes on. Generally, men are defaulting in their character. There's this big problem with ethics. There's a big problem with their morals. But just like the natural law of causation, there is a reason for everything. Why is it that man has actually gotten to that state today? Why is it that people have this bad character? It's like it's on the rise and it is general. Why is it that way? Trying to look into this, we realize that we should go back to the drawing board and look through the socialization process, what we also call the institutions for character formation. Generally speaking, we have three main institutions for socialization. You are looking at the home, you are looking at the school, education places, and then you are looking at religious places of worship centers. However, it starts in the home, it starts at home, and so we put the home, the family specifically, at the crux of this matter of character formation. The home is the first institution for character formation, and so we decided to look at this particular topic, institutions for character formation, the family. Last week, while discussing this concept with the Imam, we looked at a couple of things which include character in between religion and culture. Because speaking generally now, people like to sometimes, what is the concept of what is right and what is wrong? Some people like to look at it from culture. However, sometimes what the culture says, what a particular culture permits is somewhat different from what another culture will permit. That is, I could be right when I'm in this particular province. If I leave here and I go somewhere else, what I see as right and not right will invariably be wrong. So what then is the yardstick for measuring right and wrong in the first instance? And so we're speaking with references from the Quran and the Sunnah. As Muslims, we are trying to tell you exactly what Islam says is ideal, what Islam says is right, what Islam defines as character, what Islam tells you to be morals and ethics. Now, may Allah spare our lives. We looking at this topic, the Imam posited, he made us realize that since the child comes from the home, the child is a product of the family, a man and a wife, the husband and the wife. He essentially said the family comprises of both the man and the woman, and then the children are actually the product of such marriages. If you are going to put your child in order, you want him to have exemplary characters, you want him to be morally upright, and you want him to have ethics in the real sense of the word. It starts with the process of the marriage. It starts with the marriage process itself. How do you get to marry? What do you consider? What are the yardsticks? What are those things you consider before choosing a particular wife or choosing a particular husband? According to what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught us, we know that people generally marry for 4 reasons. People marry for wealth reasons, for progeny reasons, for beauty, and then for religion. But then he advised us to ensure that the religion is the priority. The religion is the priority. The one who puts that in mind has laid a good pedestal, a good foundation for the family that is to come by Allah's will. Speaking about this also, the Imam made us realize that just like the Quran says that Ar-Rijalu Qawwamuna ala Nisa, he said men generally like to move around feeling cool with this, that oh yeah, we are the pillars of our home. But really, this is supposed to tell us that the men generally have a whole lot of responsibilities resting on their shoulders. If you are going to put your home in place, then you really have to be up on your toes. You need to be up and doing as the men who Allah has saddled this responsibility of guarding the home on. And so as men, we have a whole lot of responsibility vis-a-vis this topic. Inshallah, today we shall be continuing on that, the institutions for character formation, the family. Our guest is well on his way. He's not yet in the studio. We ask Allah to guide him and bring him safely here. He had some challenges on the road. But while we're waiting for him, I'll be taking you through the program, and just after the music break, we'll continue the program properly. Just stay tuned.
All saw their lives like empty boxes. They looked around the world, collecting up the things they liked. They filled their lives in boxes with the goodies that they gathered, and they all felt in control, content, and they all felt alright. They climbed inside their boxes, they settled with their trinkets. They neither looked nor learned much more, and closed their lids up tight. Once they'd fastened up their boxes, they smiled there inside, and they all thought in their darkness that the world was clear and bright. But the world is not a box. There's no lid, no doors, no cardboard flaps or locks. And everything in nature, from the clouds to the rocks, is a piece of the puzzle of the purpose of man. It's a piece of the piece of Islam. Along came a wandering wise man, whispering such words of truth, who stumbled on these boxes, so separate side by side. He knocked upon the first one, saying, "Please come out and feel the day." An answer came from deep within, "You're not of us, please go away." He approached the second box and tapped thrice on the lid, saying, "Peace to you inside, shall I show you a new way?" Someone peeked out from a crack and said, "You may just have a point, but it's so comfy in my box. In my box here I will stay." But the world is not a box. There's no lid, no doors, no cardboard flaps or locks. And everything in nature, from the clouds to the rocks, is a piece of the puzzle of the purpose of man. It's a piece of the piece of Islam. He stood before the final box, a hiding face peeked out to him, and much to his surprise he said, "I recognize those eyes. I see you and you see me. Why not come out and be free? Faith and flowers wilt and die if they are hidden from the sky. 'Cause the world is not a box. There's no lid, no doors, no cardboard flaps or locks. And everything in nature, from the clouds to the rocks, is a piece of the puzzle of the purpose of man. It's a piece of the piece of Islam." Now centuries lie between all the prophets and you and I. Civilizations are born and die each and every day. We see good and bad and happy, sad, and mad mistakes we wish we hadn't made in our attempt to try and live up to their way. But if we hide ourselves away, afraid to grow and learn, we might wake up in the flames of the ignorance that burns, and we'll never be much more than only casualties of war in a struggle we can't win if we have no faith to begin. We've got to tip the lid and let some sunlight in. 'Cause the world is not a box. There's no lid, no doors, no cardboard flaps or locks. And everything in nature, from the clouds to the rocks, is a piece of the puzzle of the purpose of man. It's a piece of
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulil Karim wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Institutions of character formation, the family. Now, when we talk about character, we refer to the inherent complex of attributes that determine a person's moral and ethical actions and reactions. This is what we mean when we are talking about character, and we've been trying to look at what Islam says about this, understanding that today, more than ever, people lack in issues of character. At the home now, how does one instill moral values in one's children? How to instill moral values in one's children? When we speak, we are taught that from childhood, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. A lot of things like that we are being taught. Adages, proverbs, things that guide our thoughts and actions about the essence of the fear of God. And this is essential also. Allah says in the Quran, "O you believe, Ku anfusakum wa ahlikumun nara." O you believe, protect yourselves now and your families from the fire. Protect them from the fire. It is essential that you guard your family, instill in them the fear of God, which is the most essential. It is with this fear of God that you can beat your chest and be confident about the kind of things they will do in your absence, so to say. Because without the fear of God, like we learned last week, people tend to do things the other way around. For example, by virtue of culture, if you are taught that a particular thing is good and something else is bad, if you do it in that particular context, something that is good in that definition now, but if you are somewhere else and then you have to dance to another tune, you realize that you keep shifting based on where you are. But one who understands that, okay, the definition of right or wrong is a product of what one's faith dictates. Like, okay, Islamically, you are told that you should not take somebody else's property. That is theft. You are also told, each time you are told a particular thing, do this and don't do that, you will be the ascribing rewards stroke punishments you are being told. And then you are told that there is one who is the creator who will reward you if you do it right, and who will punish you if you do it wrong. But if you seek forgiveness, he will pardon. With things like this at the back of one's mind, one tends to put himself in order. Invariably, when you are somewhere else, where eyes can't reach, where nobody can see you, you are the only person there, you will still not want to do that thing which is wrong. This is why the fear of God is very essential with regards to training our kids. The fear of God is the first thing to teach them. But talking about the fear of God and teaching our words now, you tend to wonder, at what age does this teaching start? At what age do you begin to teach them what is right and what is wrong? Islamically, you start to teach your child all of this from the very beginning. From the very beginning. Initially, when you give birth to the child, it takes a while before the child has that sense of discerning, to be able to tell the differentiate between the right hand, the left hand, what to put in the mouth and what not to put in the mouth, how to eat, how to walk, how to talk, etc. You as the parents who are the guardians of this particular child that you have been given, it is up to you to put this child in the right direction. So when the child begins to eat, do not ensure, for example now, that the child puts the food in his mouth with his left hand. Each time he wants to eat, if he takes it with his left, you correct him to use the right. That way, gradually this thing becomes a part of him. In a particular hadith as related by Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu, he said when he was much younger, the Prophet was eating, and so he walked up to the Prophet and wanted to eat. He put his hand in the food. The Prophet held the hand and told him two things. One, you start to eat by saying Bismillah, and two, you eat from that which is closer to you. So you don't stretch your hand like we are taught in table manners in social studies and primary school. You don't stretch across the table. Islamically, you are taught also in that manner. You teach your children things like this. These little things, after a while, they culminate a conglomeration of all of these attributes and moral lessons with which you have taught your children. The child just grows up to understand that it's a part of me. He can't really tell, not knowing that the parents have actually put him in order. Another example, Islamically, you are taught to, before you sleep at night, there are certain supplications you say, and then you lie on the right side. I, for example, growing up, I think I knew that from childhood. I just knew when it was time to sleep, you lie on the right side, and you say certain supplications, because I was taught. So you start to teach your child, immediately he starts discerning. You begin to teach him little by little, bit by bit, and then you do not make things cumbersome. You do not overburden him with things that he shouldn't, his intellect cannot fathom and understand. In one particular hadith, we are told that you should teach your children how to pray by the age of 7, or rather you instruct them to pray at the age of 7, and by the age of 10, if they refuse to pray, you beat them. The adage goes, spare the rod and spoil the child. However, this is the wisdom in it. You are supposed to instruct him to pray at the age of 7. If at the age of 7, what you are told to do is tell him to go and pray, that is, instruct him. That means before 7, he should have learned how to pray. You should have taught him. How then do you teach him to pray? Each time you go for Salah, you take him along with you. You encourage him to pray. You tell him that as Muslims, you should do so and so. There are certain rituals you should perform. There are certain habits you must have. You begin to teach him. You encourage him. If it means you buy him a couple of goodies, each time he does something good, reward him. Each time he does something not good, you tell him why it is not good. Instruct him. You have this talking attitude with your children. At that age, do not think that they are too young to understand. No, they are not too young. They are not too, especially in this age where, in fact, I think we have left the jet age now. I saw once on YouTube a particular 5-year-old who was driving a bulldozer in Hong Kong. I didn't believe it initially, but looking closely, it was not Photoshop, it was not video editing, it really happened. But then I started to look at it, and then I remembered that we are taught Islamically also that at the age of 5, they call the age of 5 the golden age, because at that particular age, there are lots of children who have memorized, committed into memory totally a whole Quran. At that particular age, their intelligence quotients, the way Allah has done it is such that we really do not exploit or explore their intellectual capability and capacity. But if you look at other things, if you see on it, I've seen on TVs before, I've seen on the TV, I've seen on the net where a 3-year-old girl would dance to music, the likes that you can mention it. I've seen 3-year-olds who rap. They are 3-year-olds, young, very small children, but the intellectual capability, their capacity is way beyond what we actually exploit ordinarily. So we should, having this at the back of the mind, we should ensure that we start instructing our children at a very early age, usually between ages 0 and 21. For example, if you split that into 3, there's 0 to 7, there's 7 to 14, 14 and above. By the way, there's no limit to the level with which a child would have outgrown teachings, outgrown the level of being tutored. No, as the parents, it is your responsibility to ensure you take the child till when you leave the earth. We learn from cradle to grave. As Muslims now who want to instill in our children characters, there are quite a number of things we must ensure. For example, we find ourselves in an era today where the children take a lot from the television, a lot from the TV. I cannot say, however, that you should throw away the television, that they are taking more of bad than good. But then, just like most other people opine, which I happen to pitch my tent with at the moment, you have this controlled viewing of the TV screen. Controlled viewing. Really monitor what your kids are watching, or rather, even design what they should watch for them. I'll give you a case study. I used to know of a mother who, her children, she basically taught them what they needed from primary 1 to 6, homeschooling. Though they went to school, but she was teaching them at home, and she monitored everything she felt was essential. For example, their spoken English, and so she would buy storybooks that came with CDs, put the CDs on, and then they will be reading the storybook as a family thing. That way she controlled, and she basically taught the kids how to speak properly the language. And of course today, this is something everybody is making noise about. The children of today don't even know how to speak English properly. Once you see them with telephone, with the mobile phone, the BlackBerry, or you see them on Facebook, it's all about LOL, TTYL, and then you ask the person to write something, give him viral. What you find out is he will end up writing this. And so he writes in his lecture notes, or even in the exam hall, when he wants to write ARE, he just shortens it with R. He doesn't even really know. And a lot of things like that. So this particular woman put her kids in order with regards to those things she felt would take them to a higher level later in future. Their spoken English, their written English, their attitude, their dressing, and these are things that today we should monitor more than ever. Like I once saw on Facebook, and someone says, we have this attitude of training our children with viewing cartoons. Good and bad. Like I said initially, controlled viewing is what is essential. So he says, okay, Walt Disney, for example. What do you expect of your child? He grows up knowing Tarzan lives his life with pants. He basically does not put on clothes. Cinderella is always sleeping. Snow White lives with 7 men. Pinocchio is always telling lies. And a couple of all these things that we really do not take cognizance of, but these things register in the brains of the children. What then would you expect of such children? Knowing that, okay, they are used to things like X-Men, and they want to be like Wolverine, yeah, the tough guy, and things like that. You will not expect much from such children. But of course, with controlled and monitored viewing, monitor exactly what your kids are watching. And by monitor, I say design it for them. And so get them used to, sometimes in the past, I don't know about what happens today, you will have educating programs like Speak Out, and on Sundays there will be Light Upon Light on MITV, and things like that. Buy CDs to help your children grow up knowing some of these little things with regards the fear of God, with regards how you deal with people. Don't tell them folk tales of the tortoise and something that at the end of it, he grows up knowing that those things were just folk tales. But you tell them stories, maybe stories from the Quran, for example, that tell you a sense of being truthful and being trustworthy. And there are a whole lot of these kind of stories that tell you, okay, this is the reward for doing that. Allah is pleased when you do this. This is what He gives you when you do that. These things are essential. So I was saying you should ensure that you start teaching your children at a very tender age. They are not too small. Because what we teach our children will most likely, nowadays, what you find the woman doing is, she wants to go to the kitchen, so she's going to put the child in a cot or something, and then he's with the TV. The TV basically tutors the child. If that's the case, regulate and design what your children are watching. Lay precedence. As the father, this part is yours. You should lay precedence for your children. We can do a whole lot of talking, but if what we say and what we do are parallel, they do not even conform, then of course we'll be defeating the purpose. You want to teach someone how to say the truth, but you're the same person who will tell your child when someone comes knocking on your door, please tell him I'm not at home. You are very teaching him also how to tell lies. And tomorrow if he tells lies, you come out with your whip and you want to beat him. No, it's not going to work that way. Be the architect, be the one who is going to be the role model for your children. Don't let somebody else be the role model. So when they ask your child, who do you want to be like? I want to be like Superman. No, that's not good enough. Be your children's role model. Lay precedence. What to teach them is essential. What to teach them is essential. The Deen of Islam is such that it covers a whole lot of subjects. Specifically now we're talking about morals. And when we're looking at morals, we're looking at issues like how to speak, how to relate with your fellow, how to relate with those who are older than you, not transgressing upon somebody else's right, not taking somebody else's property, and a whole lot of these issues that translate into morals. When you walk, not walking in haughtiness, not abusing the next person. It's funny, there are some people who they hardly say a statement without using curse words, and there are people who don't even know what curse words are. It's difficult for them to even curse you. They don't know how to do it. How come? And we live in the same province. How is there this difference? There's this wide gap. It's just you can't understand it. Some people don't speak any single statement without curse. So any little thing you are hearing, all those things you should normally not hear. Well, can you blame him? You thank the TV for that. Yet, in the very same province, you have somebody else who does not even know how to curse. You probably get him vexed. He's very vexed. He wants to curse. He does not even know how to say it. And those are the kind of children we're talking about. If he can't curse, what then would he do? Even though this thing tells to some extent the level of one's intellectual capability. Well, institutions of character formation, that is what we are looking at today, the family, as a continuation of last week's program. Inshallah, we'll go for another music break. When we come back, we'll continue on the topic. Please stay tuned.
I'm looking back throughout the years. To breathe is hard and my eyes are choked with tears. Your face and hair are full of light. Now it will soon be time to go. I feel you feeling calm now. Did the angel let you know? For all the wisdom and tea you gave to me, let me offer something now so warm and comforting and sweet. Can you hear me whisper to you as you sleep? La ilaha illallah. Did you always understand? Can you feel me take your hand? Flowers, houseplants and I, you helped us grow. Now, as I hold your cup, how were you and I to know? I'd care for you and look for hints of paradise as I bend to wash your feet. Our minutes fade like photographs or crowds from an evening street. For all the wisdom and tea you gave to me, let me offer something now so warm and comforting and sweet. Can you hear me whisper to you as you sleep? La ilaha illallah. Did you always understand? Can you feel me take your hand? I dreamt we sat in the kitchen like we used to having tea. The apparition vanished as in life's reality. We will meet again is what I'm sure I felt her say. On the day when veils and secrets of the heart will be torn away. For all the wisdom and tea you gave to me, let me offer something now so warm and comforting and sweet. Can you hear me whisper to you as you sleep? La ilaha illallah. Did you always understand? As I let go of your hand. For all the wisdom and tea you gave to me, let me turn to something now so warm and meaningful and sweet. Allah give us peace in our final sleep. La ilaha illallah. Give us patience to understand. Ya Ghafoor, Ya Rahman. What is finally in the heart? What is the final choice? Allah knows, and all that we can claim are just memories and a voice.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulil Kareem. Yeah, welcome back from that music break. Just about time for the last segment of the program. Now, we've been looking at the institutions of character formation. We've been talking about the family. May Allah guide us aright and make us people who put our children in order. Just as we commence this particular segment, the Imam came in. Yeah, Imam, you are very welcome. Now, we're talking about putting our kids in order. I mentioned earlier on how the Quran tells us and instructs us about how to do this. I mentioned also that we should start this from a very tender age. And I mentioned that talking to the children is very essential. When it is necessary to beat them, you beat them. But then beating them is not actually the first thing, is not the solution. But that you instill in them, first things first, the fear of God. In this particular verse of the Quran, which I'm about to read, or a couple of verses in Surah Luqman, Allah gives us a typical example of a father to son relationship vis-a-vis teaching your children morals. Allah says in this particular verses of the Quran in Surah Luqman, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, wa idh qala Luqman li ibnihi wa huwa, let me let the Arabic go. In English, these verses mean the following. And when Luqman said to his son, when he was advising him, O my son, join not in worship others with Allah. Verily, joining others in worship with Allah is a great dhulm, a great wrong indeed. And when we have enjoined a man to be dutiful to God, to his parents, his mother bore him in weakness and hardship upon weakness and hardship, and his winning is of 2 years. Give thanks to me and to your parents, unto me is the final destination. The verses go further than that, but I'll stop there for the sake of time. In these 3 verses or 2 verses which have been recited unto you, there are 2 essential things which we learn from these verses. One, like I mentioned earlier, the first things first is instill in your children the fear of God. The fear of God is the first thing. They say it's the beginning of wisdom. Instill in them the fear of God. Make them understand that, look, there is a creator. We have not just been created to come and eat and drink and play for pomp and amusement like the animals do. No, that's not the way. There is a purpose. The scientists say there is a law, there is a natural law of causation. There is a reason for everything. Everything doesn't just happen by chance. Things don't happen by accident. First things first, the fact that you're even living. We're talking about millions and millions of sperm that tried to become you, but you are you today. All the others, they are where they are. They are gone. There is a reason for creation. And so the one who has given you life and made you who you are, has certain demands and requirements from you and for you. Instill in them the fear of God. Of the other things you teach them, in this particular verse, we learn also that you teach them to be dutiful to their parents. It is compulsory, it is incumbent upon them that they be dutiful to their parents for a lot of reasons. Inshallah, in subsequent editions of the program, we'll probably take exegesis of this program. Time is fast spent, but we are going to hear from our Imam, the one who is the custodian of the religious activities of the Muslim students on campus by the position of the Imam of the Muslim students. Is Architect AbdulGaniyyu Dhikrullah, and we'll hear a thing or two from him before we wrap up today's edition of the program. So, alaikum, Imam.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I understand that you had issues with your car, some inevitable situations. Well, may Allah reward you for intentions and for making it down here.
Hello, mommy.
Well, like you can see, we are far behind schedule. Time is already gone. But of course, we started this together. Let's hear one or two things from you before we wrap up today's program. We're looking at institutions of character formation like we did last week, and then the family are the crux of the matter.
Well, even though I will have I've monitored the discourse from the beginning, I would have loved to speak about continuing with the similitude for each of the constituents of this family. But let me just say one or two words regarding molding the character of the children. I heard you talking about how to dismiss it, how to teach them.
Yes.
I always give this advice that please, as parents, don't use your word where your silence suffices. Don't use your words where your silence suffices, and don't use your hand or your rod where your word suffices.
How do you mean?
There are parents who are gifted at every little thing, shouting and chastising their children, when ordinarily they are keeping quiet or using their eyes could be enough to solve that problem. If you really teach or bring up your child morally, he should be able to know by mere looking at him or her whether that is in support of what he or she is doing or not.
That's true.
So where that eye suffices, and just look at him or her and you turn your eyes, and of course you know that we pass the enough message for him to yield. There is no point talking, because talking at that point may do more evil than good. And of course, if your child grows up to know that mommy is a bully, then you know that you just shout and go, then you have gotten it wrong. So where your silence suffices or your eyes message suffices, don't use your word, for God's sake. And where your word suffices, don't use your hand. Don't beat. Where you ought to call him and tell him. And those people, parents who have cause to beat children or even teachers, there's no point beating a pupil or a child without him or her understanding for what offense he or she is being punished for.
Okay.
So the point is, if we must discipline, yes, I heard you saying that spare the rod and spoil the child.
Yes.
Yes, if we must use the rod, the point is that let the child know for what offense
he's being punished
for. And of course, there is, like I just heard you saying, there's nothing for him to reward when he does good. So if yesterday or just 1 hour ago I bought you a cheese ball for saying or doing good, and now I have to beat you for doing something else, I will ask you, what did you do to beat you for? What did you do? That I did this. Okay, for doing that, I'm going to pay you 3 strokes of the cane. And after every stroke, you tell me what you have done, and I promise you not do it again.
Okay.
So each time you do, thank you.
Daddy, I won't do it again. Daddy, I won't do it again.
I will do it again. So that next time, you remember what you promised yesterday, that you are not going to do it again. This will probably make him understand rather than just beat everything that you just beat, everything that you just beat, they are getting it wrong. So it's important for us, if we must, in child discipline, it's a far thing we still get to.
Okay.
There are techniques and ethics in disciplining child. The message is that every child should know what has done wrong for which is being punished.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you for that very brief, concise, but witty choice of words. We ask that Allah gives the Imam longevity of life, and then be with each and every one of us also, spare our lives to witness many more Juma and then benefit maximally from this particular program. Well, I've been asked to make the following announcement on behalf of the executive committees of the Albir Islamic Multipurpose Cooperative and the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Akure Area Council. The general public is invited to a public lecture tagged Islamic Cooperative and Poverty Alleviation. This program is staged to sensitize the public on the benefits of participating in Islamic cooperative, and the schedule of the lecture is as follows. There will be 2 topics. Topic 1, Islamic Cooperative Society, a source of poverty alleviation, is going to be taken by Professor Abubakar from the Federal University of Technology, Mina. And the second lecture will be Islamic Cooperative from Sharia and Common Law Perspective by Justice Ishaq Soni from the Federal High Court, Akure. This program is scheduled to hold on Sunday, the 21st of April 2013, and the venue will be Akure Central Mosque. Time will be 10 a.m. prompt. We implore that you all participate and make it to the program. Announcer Daudu Alim, LOC Chairman. You are all invited. Well, today is another lovely Juma. Ensure that you get to the mosque early enough, recite Surah Al-Kahf, clip your nails, remove the hair in your pubic regions, and get to the mosque early enough to listen to the khutbah. Until we come your way, same time, same station next week, Inshallah Rahman. The program has been Al-Islam, the religion of peace. And I have been your host, Sadiq Kalau. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
إنك على كل شيء قدير